The screaming had been going on for 73 hours, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds. Every being on station Helix 7 knew this because the sound penetrated even the most advanced sonic barriers. It was not just any scream, it was the cry of Zarathix, heir to the Meccan Empire's throne, a being that was part organic consciousness, part quantum computer, and entirely in agony. Commander Elena Vasquez stood in the station's central hub, watching the holographic displays that showed the child's vital signs. The readings made no sense. Organic components showed extreme distress, while the cybernetic systems registered errors that defied comprehension. The child was dying, and taking the fragile peace between three galactic civilizations with it. Status report, Elena commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos of the command center. Dr. Kethvar, the station's chief medical officer and a member of the crystalline Veltar species, materialized beside her in a shimmer of blue light. His voice resonated like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The young one's hybrid nature is rejecting itself. The organic brain is fighting the cybernetic implants, while the quantum processors are attempting to purge what they perceive as biological contamination. We have tried every medical protocol known to our three species. Elena studied the data streams flowing across her neural interface. As station commander and one of the few humans in this sector, she carried the weight of representing her species to the galactic community. Humanity had only recently joined the Galactic Federation. Their entry, sponsored by the Veltar after first contact, had revealed humans' unusual capacity for empathy and problem-solving under pressure. "Where is Queen Zyxandra?" Elena asked. "In the containment chamber with her offspring," Dr. Kethvar replied. "She has not moved from that position since the child's condition began deteriorating. Her own cybernetic systems are showing signs of strain from prolonged exposure to the child's distress signals." Elena had met the Cyborg Queen only once before, during the initial diplomatic ceremonies when Station Helix 7 was established as a neutral meeting ground. Zyxandra stood 12 feet tall, her form a seamless blend of polished chrome and living tissue. Her people, the Meccan, had achieved technological integration so complete that the line between machine and biology had disappeared generations ago. They were logical, precise, and utterly devoted to efficiency in all things. Which made the current situation even more devastating. The Meccan did not understand suffering without purpose. They fixed problems with surgical precision, replaced malfunctioning components, and optimized systems until they ran perfectly. But young Zarathix was not malfunctioning, she was evolving in ways that no one had anticipated. "Sir," came a voice from behind her. Elena turned to see Lieutenant Morrison, one of her human staff members, approaching with a data pad. "We've been monitoring communications from the Meccan fleet. They're requesting permission to attempt an emergency separation of the child's organic and cybernetic components." Elena's blood ran cold. That would kill her. "Yes, sir. But, from their perspective, it would end the suffering while preserving the cybernetic consciousness matrix. They believe they can download the child's memories and personality into a pure machine form." Dr. Kethvar's crystalline form flickered with distress patterns. Such a procedure would destroy everything that makes the child unique. The Meccan failed to understand that consciousness is not merely data to be transferred. The integration of organic intuition and mechanical precision is what gives young Zarathix her potential. Elena closed her eyes and listened to the screaming that echoed through the station's corridors. Somewhere in the medical bay, a child who represented the future of an entire species was dying in agony while the greatest minds in the galaxy stood helpless. "Have we tried human medical techniques?" she asked. The question seemed to surprise Dr. Kethvar. "Human medicine is still considered primitive by galactic standards." "No offense intended, Commander." "None taken, but sometimes primitive solutions work when advanced ones fail." Elena pulled up the station's roster on her neural interface. "Is Dr. Sarachan still aboard?" "Yes, she's in the xenobiology lab." "But, Commander, human medicine deals primarily with purely organic systems. This child is something entirely beyond your species' experience." Elena was already walking toward the lift. "Maybe that's exactly what we need, someone with no preconceived notions about what should or shouldn't work." The medical bay occupied an entire section of Station Helix 7, its walls lined with equipment from dozens of different civilizations. The screaming was louder here, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the very structure of the station. Elena found Dr. Sarah Chen hunched over a workstation, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces as she analyzed data streams. Sarah looked up as Elena approached, her face drawn with exhaustion. At 35, she was one of the youngest doctors to earn xenobiology certification, her specialty being the interaction between different species' biological systems. "Commander, I've been monitoring the situation. I know what you're going to ask, and, I have to tell you, this is beyond anything I've ever encountered." "But, you have thoughts," Elena said. It wasn't a question. Sarah hesitated, then, gestured to the data displays surrounding her workstation. "I've been studying the integration patterns between Zarathix's organic and cybernetic components. Everyone's been treating this as a rejection syndrome, but I think we're looking at it wrong." "How so?" "The child isn't rejecting the cybernetic implants. She's trying to integrate them more completely. The screaming, the system conflicts, they're not signs of failure. They're growing pains." Elena felt a spark of hope. "Explain." Sarah pulled up a three-dimensional model of Zarathix's hybrid nervous system. "Look at the neural pathways here. The organic brain is attempting to form new connections with the quantum processors, connections that don't exist in adult mechan physiology. If I'm right, she's evolving beyond what either the organic or cybernetic components were designed to handle. And that's killing her. The pain is. But humans have something the mechan don't experience with growth that hurts. We call them growing pains for a reason. Every human child goes through periods of physical and emotional discomfort as they develop. The difference is we know how to manage that pain, how to support a child through the difficult transitions." Elena studied the neural pathway displays. "What are you suggesting?" "I want to try palliative care. Not to cure the integration process, but to support it. Make the child comfortable while her body and mind figure out how to work together." "The mechan won't understand that approach." "Then, we don't ask permission. We ask forgiveness." Elena made her decision in the space between heartbeats. "What do you need?" "Access to the containment chamber, a portable medical kit, and someone to run interference with the Queen." Elena activated her comm unit. "Security, this is Commander Vasquez. I need an escort to Medical Bay 7. Dr. Chen has priority access to the containment chamber." The containment chamber was a marvel of engineering, its walls lined with adaptive shielding that could protect the occupants from radiation, biological contaminants, or psionic interference. Inside, Queen Zyxandra knelt beside a medical platform where her child lay writhing in apparent agony. Zarathix appeared to be roughly human equivalent of 8 years old, though mechan development followed different patterns. Her small form was a perfect miniature of her mother's integration, organic tissue seamlessly blended with cybernetic components, silver neural interfaces gleaming against dark skin, mechanical joints moving with fluid precision. But now those joints sparked with electrical discharge, and her organic tissue was flushed with fever. Queen Zyxandra's massive form turned as Elena and Sarah entered the chamber. Her voice, when she spoke, carried the harmonic resonance of perfectly calibrated speakers. "Commander Vasquez. Have you come to inform me that my daughter must be sacrificed for the peace of the station?" Elena stepped forward, keeping her movements slow and non-threatening. "Your Majesty, I've come to offer another option. Dr. Chen believes there may be a way to help Zarathix through this crisis without ending her integrated existence." The Queen's optical sensors focused on Sarah with laser precision. "Human medicine is crude. Inefficient. How could your primitive techniques succeed where mechan science has failed?" Sarah moved to the medical platform, her scanner already active. "Because sometimes crude techniques work when precision fails. Your Majesty, may I examine your daughter?" For a moment, Elena thought the Queen would refuse. Then, Zyxandra stepped aside with mechanical grace. "Do what you will, human. But, know that if you cause additional suffering, I will hold your species accountable." Sarah began her examination, her instruments reading both organic and cybernetic systems. Elena watched the Queen, noting the subtle signs of strain in her posture. How long had she been standing vigil? Did the mechan even require rest, or was ZYXandra operating beyond her optimal parameters out of pure maternal devotion? The neural integration is more advanced than I thought, Sarah murmured, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. Your Majesty, when did the integration process begin for your daughter? At conception, the Queen replied. Mechan offspring receive preliminary cybernetic interfaces while still developing in the growth matrix. The full integration occurs gradually as they mature. But Zarathix is developing faster than normal, isn't she? The Queen's optical sensors dimmed slightly. Yes. Her organic brain is advancing at a rate that exceeds our projections. We believe this was beneficial, a sign of superior development. Sarah nodded, making notes on her datapad. It is beneficial, but it's also causing the integration systems to lag behind. Her brain is literally growing faster than the cybernetic components can adapt. Elena watched the exchange, beginning to understand what Sarah was proposing. You want to slow down the organic development? No, Sarah said, looking up from her examination. I want to help the cybernetic systems catch up. But that means accepting that the integration process will be painful and unpredictable. We need to manage the symptoms, not fight the underlying development. Queen ZYXandra's form went very still. You are suggesting we allow our child to suffer. I'm suggesting we help her through the suffering, Sarah replied. Every species develops differently, Your Majesty. Humans endure years of physical and emotional growth that can be painful and confusing. But we support our children through it because we understand that growth requires discomfort. Elena stepped forward. Your Majesty, Dr. Chen isn't talking about abandoning treatment. She's talking about changing our approach from fighting the integration to supporting it. The Queen looked down at her daughter, whose small form continued to writhe on the medical platform. The screaming had quieted to whimpers, but the child's distress was still evident in every movement. Explain your methods, human doctor. Sarah activated her portable medical kit, the instruments humming to life. First, we need to establish better communication between the organic and cybernetic systems. I'm going to introduce neural bridging compounds that will help smooth the integration process. It won't eliminate the discomfort, but it should reduce the acute pain. And then? Then, we wait. And we comfort her while her body figures out how to work as an integrated whole. Sarah looked directly at the Queen. Your Majesty, do the mechan have any traditions around comforting children during illness? The question seemed to puzzle ZYXandra. Comfort is inefficient. We repair problems, we do not merely provide emotional support. Elena felt her heart break a little. Your Majesty, with your permission, I'd like to contact someone who might be able to help with that aspect of Zarathix's care. Who? Elena activated her comm unit. Dr. Michael Torres, please report to Medical Bay 7 immediately. Sarah looked puzzled. Who's Dr. Torres? He's not a medical doctor, Elena explained. He's a child psychologist. And, more importantly, he's a father. The neural bridging treatment took 3 hours to administer, with Sarah carefully monitoring both organic and cybernetic responses as she introduced the compounds that would help Zarathix's developing brain communicate more effectively with her technological components. The child's screaming gradually subsided to occasional whimpers, and her vital signs showed marginal improvement. Dr. Michael Torres arrived during the final phase of the treatment. A compact man in his 40s with graying temples and kind eyes, he carried a small bag of personal items that Elena had specifically requested he bring. Commander, he said quietly as he entered the containment chamber. What's the situation? Elena brought him up to speed while Sarah completed her work. Torres listened without comment, his attention divided between the explanation and careful observation of the child on the medical platform. The integration process could take days or even weeks, Sarah concluded. The neural bridging will help, but Zarathix is still going to experience significant discomfort as her systems learn to work together. Torres approached the medical platform, moving with the careful ease of someone accustomed to working with distressed children.
"Hello, Zarathix," he said softly. "My name is Michael."
"I know you're feeling scared and uncomfortable right now." The child's optical sensors flickered, focusing on him with apparent effort. When she spoke, her voice carried both organic emotion and cybernetic precision.
"It hurts."
"Everything hurts, and no one can make it stop."
"I know it does,"
Torres replied, settling into a chair beside the platform.
"And I can't make it stop either."
"But I can stay with you while it hurts."
"Would that help?" Queen Zyxandra moved closer, her massive form looming over Torres. "What purpose does your presence serve, human?" Torres looked up at her without flinching. "The purpose of not being alone when everything hurts, Your Majesty. Sometimes that's all we can offer, but sometimes that's enough." From his bag, Torres withdrew a small, worn stuffed animal, a teddy bear that had clearly seen years of loving use. "This belonged to my daughter when she was growing up. She used to hold it when she was sick or scared. Would you like to hold it for a while?"
Zarathix's organic hand reached out tentatively, her cybernetic fingers adjusting automatically to accommodate the soft texture of the toy.
"What is it?" "It's a friend," Torres said simply.
"Sometimes when we're in pain, having a friend to hold makes us feel less alone."
Elena watched the exchange with growing amazement.
The sophisticated medical equipment, the advanced alien technologies, the desperate efforts of brilliant minds, none of it had addressed the fundamental reality that Zarathix was a frightened child in pain. But one human father with a worn teddy bear was creating the first moment of peace the child had experienced in days.
Queen Zyxandra's optical sensors dimmed as she observed her daughter clutching the simple toy.
"This comfort, does it serve a medical function?"
"Emotional well-being affects physical healing," Sarah explained. "Stress hormones can interfere with natural healing processes. Reducing psychological distress can actually improve medical outcomes."
"But, more than that," Torres added gently, "she's still a child, Your Majesty.
Whatever else she becomes, whatever amazing integration she achieves, right now she's a little girl who's scared and hurting.
And little girls need to know that someone cares about them." The Queen was silent for a long moment, her massive form perfectly still. Then, with movements that seemed uncertain for the first time since Elena had known her, Zyxandra reached out and gently touched her daughter's forehead. "I care," she said, her voice carrying harmonics Elena had never heard before. "I have always cared, but we have no traditions for expressing such feelings."
"Would you like to learn some?" Torres asked.
Elena left the containment chamber with the image burned into her memory, a 12-foot-tall cyborg queen learning lullabies from a human father while her daughter clutched a teddy bear and found her first peaceful sleep in 3 days. The crisis was far from over.
Zarathix still faced days or weeks of difficult integration, and the political implications of a hybrid heir's survival would ripple through the galaxy.
But, for the first time since the screaming began, Elena felt hope. Sometimes the most advanced problems required the simplest solutions. And sometimes the greatest strength wasn't in technology or weapons or diplomatic protocols, it was in the simple human capacity to sit with someone who was suffering and remind them they weren't alone. In the depths of space, on a station designed to bring different species together, a human father was teaching an alien queen how to comfort her child. And Elena realized that this moment, this quiet act of compassion crossing species lines, might be the most important diplomatic breakthrough in galactic history. The screaming had stopped. But the real work was just beginning. 3 days had passed since the screaming stopped, but Dr. Michael Torres hadn't left the containment chamber for more than a few hours at a time. He sat beside Zarathix's medical platform, reading stories from a digital tablet while the child drifted in and out of consciousness. The neural bridging treatments were working, but the integration process remained painful and unpredictable. Commander Elena Vasquez stood in the observation deck above the chamber, watching through reinforced transparent steel as Torres helped Queen Zyxandra practice what he called comfort techniques. The sight of the massive cyborg queen attempting to gentle her voice while singing a lullaby that Torres had taught her would have been amusing under different circumstances. The political situation is deteriorating, came a voice behind her. Elena turned to see Ambassador Korvax of the Veltar delegation, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's lights into prismatic patterns. The Meccan fleet is growing impatient. They have transmitted formal demands to attempt the consciousness transfer procedure. Elena kept her attention on the scene below. And our response? The station operates under Federation medical ethics protocols. As long as the patient shows improvement, we can resist external pressure for procedures that would fundamentally alter her nature. And if she gets worse? Korvax's form shifted to deeper blue hues, indicating distress. Then, we may have no choice but to allow the Meccan to proceed with their solution. Elena activated her comm unit. Dr. Chen, status report. Sarah's voice came through clearly from the medical bay. Neural integration is proceeding slowly but steadily. The organic brain is successfully forming new pathways to interface with the quantum processors, but the process is unlike anything in the medical literature. We're essentially watching the birth of a new form of consciousness. Complications? The integration events are becoming more frequent. Every few hours, Zarathix experiences what we're calling synchronization episodes where her organic and cybernetic systems attempt to align their processes. Each episode is painful, but the recovery time is decreasing. Elena studied the readouts on her neural interface. How long before we know if this approach will succeed? Unknown. We're in uncharted territory, Commander. Zarathix is becoming something that has never existed before, not human, not Meccan as we understand them, but a true fusion of biological and technological consciousness. In the chamber below, Zarathix stirred on the medical platform. Torres immediately moved closer, his voice carrying clearly through the observation deck's audio feed. Hey there, little one. How are you feeling? The child's optical sensors flickered online, focusing on Torres with increasing clarity. The patterns are easier now. The noise in my head is organized. Queen Zyxandra approached from across the chamber, her massive form moving with careful grace. Daughter, your vital signs indicate another synchronization event is approaching. Elena watched Zarathix's expression change from drowsy confusion to growing distress. The child's organic features tightened with anticipated pain while her cybernetic components began displaying error cascades on their status displays. It's going to hurt again, Zarathix whimpered, clutching Torres's teddy bear tighter against her chest. Torres moved smoothly into position beside the platform. Remember what we talked about? When the pain comes, you don't have to face it alone. Your mother is here, I'm here, and all the doctors are watching to make sure you're safe. But it hurts so much. The metal parts of me want to think in straight lines, but the soft parts want to think in colors and feelings. When they try to talk to each other, it feels like lightning in my brain. Elena felt her throat tighten. The child was articulating something that no medical scanner could detect, the fundamental challenge of consciousness attempting to exist simultaneously as organic intuition and digital logic. Queen Zyxandra knelt beside the platform, her mechanical joints whirring softly. Daughter, I have been researching human child rearing practices. Dr. Torres has taught me that pain shared is pain lessened. Will you allow me to experience your distress through our neural link? Elena's breath caught. The Meccan neural link was designed for data transfer between cybernetic systems, not for sharing organic sensations. If Zyxandra linked with her daughter during a synchronization episode, she would experience the full agony of consciousness attempting to exist in two different states simultaneously. Your Majesty, Torres said quietly, that could be dangerous for you. My daughter should not suffer alone, the Queen replied with simple finality. The synchronization episode hit without further warning. Zarathix's small body convulsed as her organic nervous system clashed with her cybernetic components. The child's scream returned, but this time it carried different harmonics, not just pain, but the sound of consciousness stretching to accommodate incompatible forms of existence. Queen Zyxandra activated her neural link without hesitation. Elena watched the massive cyborg queen's form go rigid as she experienced her daughter's pain directly through their shared connection. For the first time since meeting the Meccan leader,
Elena saw something that looked like purely organic suffering cross ZYXandra's features. But something unexpected happened.
Instead of simply sharing the pain, the Queen's more stable cybernetic systems began providing a template for integration. Her mature neural pathways offered a pattern that Zarathix's developing consciousness could follow, like a path through the storm of conflicting sensations. "That's it," Sarah's voice came through the calm system, excitement evident in her tone.
The Queen's neural matrix is providing integration guidance. Zarathix's systems are using her mother's pathways as a model for successful fusion. Elena watched in amazement as mother and daughter remained linked, sharing both agony and adaptation.
Torres kept up a steady stream of quiet encouragement, his presence providing the emotional anchor that allowed both Meccan to endure the process. "You're doing so well," he told Zarathix. "I know it hurts, but look how brave you're being.
And your mother is right there with you, showing you how to be strong."
The episode lasted 12 minutes, longer than any previous synchronization event, but, when it ended, the change in Zarathix was remarkable. The child's optical sensors came online with new clarity, and, when she spoke, her voice carried perfect harmony between organic emotion and cybernetic precision. "Mother, I can hear your thoughts now. Not just the words, but the feelings underneath them."
Queen ZYXandra's massive form trembled slightly as she maintained the neural link. "And I can perceive your organic sensations, daughter. The colors and emotions that were foreign to me before, they are beautiful." Elena realized she was witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. The neural link between Queen ZYXandra and her daughter was creating a two-way bridge that allowed organic consciousness to inform cybernetic processes while digital logic provided structure to emotional experience. "Dr. Chen," Elena called through her comm unit. "Are you monitoring this?"
"Every second, Commander. This is revolutionary. They're not just integrating individual organic and cybernetic systems, they're creating a shared consciousness that encompasses both types of mental processes. This could change everything we understand about the nature of intelligence itself." Ambassador Korvex materialized beside Elena, his crystalline form pulsing with rapid light patterns that indicated extreme agitation.
"Commander, we have a problem. The Meccan fleet has detected the unusual neural activity and is demanding an immediate explanation. They believe the Queen is being compromised by human influence."
Elena's attention snapped from the miraculous scene below to the larger political implications.
"What kind of demands?"
"Admiral Vextar is requesting permission to board the station and assess the situation personally. If he determines that Queen ZYXandra's judgment has been impaired by exposure to human psychological techniques, he has authority to override her wishes regarding the child's treatment."
Elena's blood ran cold.
Admiral Vextar was notorious throughout the Meccan fleet for his rigid adherence to pure technological solutions. He viewed organic consciousness as a necessary but inferior component of Meccan existence, useful only as long as it remains subordinate to cybernetic logic.
"How long before he arrives?" "His transport is already en route. 6 hours, maximum."
Elena studied the scene in the containment chamber, where Queen ZYXandra and her daughter remained linked in their shared consciousness experiment. Zarathix appeared more stable than she had since the crisis began, and the integration process was clearly accelerating under her mother's guidance.
But 6 hours might not be enough time to demonstrate the success of their approach.
And if Admiral Vextar decided that the Queen had been compromised by human influence, he could order the consciousness transfer procedure to be carried out immediately.
"Dr. Chen," Elena called through the comm system. "We need to accelerate our timeline. How quickly can we document the success of the integration process?" "I'm already compiling the data, Commander. But the most convincing evidence would be a demonstration that Zarathix can function normally with her integrated consciousness. Right now, she's still dependent on the neural link with her mother." Elena made a decision that would either save a child's life or destroy her career. "Dr. Torres, I need you to help Zarathix prepare for visitors. She needs to be able to demonstrate her successful integration independently." Torres looked up from the containment chamber, his expression showing he understood the urgency. "How long do we have?"
6 hours before people arrive who want to take her away and turn her into something she's not meant to be. In the chamber below, Queen Zyxandra's optical sensors focused on the observation deck.
Commander Vasquez, I can hear your conversation through the station's audio systems. Admiral Vexstar comes to judge my decisions?
Yes, Your Majesty. He'll want to evaluate whether the integration process is truly beneficial or whether the consciousness transfer procedure would be preferable. The Queen's form straightened, her mechanical joints locking into a posture of absolute determination. Then, my daughter must be ready to show him what she has become. Not a failed mechan, not a confused hybrid, but something new and wonderful. Zarathix struggled to sit up on the medical platform, her small hands still clutching Torres's teddy bear.
Mother, I'm scared. What if I can't show them? What if the integration doesn't work when we're not connected? Queen Zyxandra gently touched her daughter's forehead.
Then, we face the challenge together, as we have faced all the others. But, first, you must learn to trust your new abilities.
Torres moved to help Zarathix sit up fully. What do you say we practice? Can you tell me what you're thinking right now?
The child closed her optical sensors for a moment, her expression showing intense concentration. I'm thinking about how the teddy bear feels soft against my skin, and also how its molecular structure creates specific tactile feedback patterns in my cybernetic touch sensors. I'm feeling worried about the Admiral coming, and simultaneously calculating probability matrices for different conversation outcomes.
Elena felt a chill of amazement.
The child was experiencing both organic emotional response and cybernetic analytical processing simultaneously, without conflict between the two modes of consciousness.
That's incredible, Zarathix, Torres said warmly. You're thinking and feeling at the same time, aren't you?
Not fighting between the two, but using both together. It's like singing harmony with myself, Zarathix replied, her voice carrying wonder. The feeling parts of me make the music beautiful, and the thinking parts help me stay in tune.
Queen Zyxandra's form seemed to swell with pride.
My daughter, you are achieving what our entire species has sought for generations, perfect balance between logic and intuition, efficiency and creativity, analysis and emotion.
Elena activated her comm unit.
All senior staff, report to Conference Room Alpha immediately.
We have 6 hours to prepare for the most important presentation in this station's history.
The next few hours passed in intense preparation. Dr. Chen compiled comprehensive medical data demonstrating the success of the integration process.
Torres worked with Zarathix on exercises that would showcase her new abilities. Queen Zyxandra practiced explaining the shared consciousness technique to other mechan who might not understand its benefits.
Elena coordinated with Ambassador Corvex and the other Federation representatives to ensure they understood the broader implications of what they were witnessing. If successful, Zarathix's integration could represent a new model for consciousness itself, one that could benefit not just the mechan, but potentially all sentient species.
As the Admiral's transport approached Station Helix 7, Elena stood once again in the observation deck, watching the small family in the containment chamber below.
Torres had taught Queen Zyxandra how to read stories to her daughter, and the massive cyborg queen was carefully sounding out the words of a human fairy tale while Zarathix listened with rapt attention. Commander, came Corvex's voice behind her.
Admiral Vexstar's transport has docked. He's requesting immediate access to the containment chamber. Elena took a deep breath. Grant his request.
It's time for Zarathix to show the galaxy what humanity's greatest gift really is. Which is? Elena smiled as she watched Torres gently encouraging the child to practice her new abilities one more time. The belief that everyone deserves to be loved exactly as they are, while still helping them become everything they can be.
Admiral Vexstar's arrival would test everything they had accomplished in the past 3 days.
But Elena had faith in the power of a human father's compassion, a mother's love that transcended species boundaries, and a brave little girl who was becoming something wonderful and new. The real test was about to begin.
Admiral Vexstar strode through Station Helix 7's corridors like a walking monument to mechan technological perfection.
Standing 15 feet tall, his form represented the pinnacle of cybernetic evolution. Every organic component had been replaced or enhanced until only the most essential biological processes remained. His optical sensors swept the station's interior with calculated precision, cataloging every detail with machine-like efficiency. Commander Elena Vasquez met him at the docking bay, flanked by Ambassador Corvex and Dr. Sarah Chen. The Admiral's retinue included a dozen mechan technicians and a portable consciousness transfer apparatus that gleamed with ominous purpose. "Admiral," Elena said formally. "Welcome to Station Helix 7. I trust your journey was satisfactory." Vextar's response came in the harmonic tones typical of advanced mechan speech, but his voice carried none of the emotional undertones Elena had learned to recognize in Queen Xandra's communication. "Commander Vasquez, I come to assess the situation regarding the heir to our throne. Reports indicate that Queen Xandra has been compromised by human psychological manipulation techniques. Your Majesty has been working with our medical staff to find the best treatment for her daughter," Elena replied carefully. "Perhaps you would like to observe the patient's current condition before making any determinations?" The Admiral's optical sensors focused on her with laser intensity. "The child's organic components have been failing for 6 standard days. Efficient protocol demands immediate consciousness transfer to preserve the essential elements of her personality and memories. Delay serves no logical purpose." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "Admiral, with respect, the child's organic components are not failing. They're evolving. The integration process is succeeding beyond anything we've seen in the medical literature." "Impossible. Organic consciousness cannot achieve stable integration with advanced cybernetic systems without extensive pre-processing and modification. The child was designed according to obsolete integration protocols." Elena noted the casual way Vextar referred to Zarathix as designed rather than born. To him, the child was a technological project that had encountered unexpected parameters, not a sentient being experiencing growth and development. "Admiral, before we proceed to the medical bay, I'd like to show you some data that might interest you." Elena activated a holographic display showing the neural pathway analysis that Sarah had compiled over the past 3 days. These readings show the development of entirely new forms of consciousness integration. Vextar studied the data streams with obvious interest, his mechanical fingers manipulating the holographic controls to examine different aspects of the analysis. "These patterns are unusual. The organic neural pathways are interfacing directly with quantum processing matrices without standard buffer protocols." "Exactly. Zarathix is achieving something that our current understanding of consciousness integration says should be impossible. Then, the readings are erroneous, or the child's systems are malfunctioning in ways that produce false data." Elena felt her patience being tested, but kept her voice level. "Admiral, wouldn't it be worth examining the patient directly before reaching that conclusion?" The walk to Medical Bay 7 took them through several sections of the station, and Elena noticed how other crew members reacted to Admiral Vextar's presence. The mechan technicians moved with perfect synchronization, their actions coordinated through shared data networks. Veltar personnel shifted their crystalline forms to less vibrant colors, indicating discomfort or unease. Even the human crew members seemed to instinctively avoid the Admiral's direct attention. But it was the silence that struck Elena most profoundly. No conversation, no casual exchanges, no acknowledgement of individual personalities among the mechan delegation. They operated like components of a single, distributed machine, efficient and purposeful but utterly lacking in what humans would recognize as social interaction. "Admiral," Elena asked as they approached the medical bay, "how long has it been since you interacted with non-cybernetic consciousness?" The question seemed to puzzle him. "I interact with organic consciousness regularly. Queen Xandra maintains significant organic components for reproductive and ceremonial purposes. I meant purely organic consciousness. Beings who haven't undergone cybernetic integration. Such interaction would serve no logical purpose. Unenhanced organic consciousness is inefficient, prone to emotional interference, and